Today, I'm gonna show you guys how to take these two boxes and turn it into a 4x8 foot trailer and go from this to this. And stay tuned and learn how you guys can build this trailer yourselves and my overall thoughts on the trailer, and then some upgrades I made to the trailer while I was building it. So let's get started. So to give you a little background on this trailer, I bought this from Northern Tool. It is the Ultra Tow 4x8 foot steel folding trailer. It has a gross vehicle weight of 1,400 pounds and can carry about 1,170 pounds on it. You guys also may be wondering, why do I have a trailer coupler sitting on top? Well, it does come with a trailer coupler. However, it is only for an 1 7/8 ball. And I prefer to use a 2-inch ball on all my stuff. So that's why I have this coupler, so I can just modify it slightly and make it work with my hitch. Some of you guys may be wondering, how much did this actually cost? Well, it cost me $499, and that's because it was on sale on their website when it's normally almost $1,000. So I'm gonna get all the parts out of the box and we'll take it from there. So now that everything's unboxed, let me show you what we got. We got our axle here with the front tongue of the trailer. We got part of our wheel assembly there. All our smaller parts are sitting over here. All this framing, this is all the same from the looks of it. You got 2 frame members like so there. 4 frame members that are roughly the same. And the other tire, leaf spring, and cover. So real quick, I'm gonna show you guys the manual. Again, this is an Ultra Tow 4x8 folding trailer. And then this is the item number if you guys are curious right here. When it comes to the tools needed, I want to point this out to you guys because this is crucial. It's all listed right here, a 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 and 21 millimeter wrench or socket. You're going to need a drill for the plywood installation, pliers, Phillips head, and then a 3/8 drill bit for side rail installation, it says. So with that said, let's get to building. Real quick, if you guys don't have one of these rolling stools, I highly recommend getting one, because for a project like this, it makes it really nice because I could stay on this and roll around instead of having to just get up and sit down every time. All the bolts are just shoved in a bag. There's no labeling or anything to them, so I definitely recommend organizing them like I'm about to do. So your E's are your carriage bolts, your D's are your super short bolts, and your C's are a little bit longer than the D's. However, one thing I noticed is I have 2 bolts right here that are slightly longer than the other 10 bolts that are here. According to the packaging, I should have 12 of these. So I went, I kind of looked and checked everything else out right here, and I had everything else, so I guess they just, quality control failed, and I got 2 bolts that were a little longer than what I should have had. So we got all those outside brackets on if you want to put a little side rail or something like that, or to use to mount stuff to the trailer. And those are just the D bolts that are with your nylon locking nuts. Actually, I messed up. The C bolt needs to go right here on both sides, so I'm gonna fix that real quick. Now we actually need to start putting this together here, so let's do that. So now that this is kind of framed out here, we need to flip it over and start working on the underside. Now we gotta take these pieces and set them like this. So now we need to put C bolts in the back and D bolts in the front. So let's get to it. So now we're gonna take these 2 angle brackets and set them up front. Just like that, the brackets line up. Remember to have the 2 holes that it has on the top forward and that they're not in the back, or you're gonna have to flip them around. And right now I'm leaving all these bolts loose because it's all gonna have to combine together, and I wanna make sure it lines up good. This pin right here is gonna slide through this front one. This is the pin. Now I need to put this black plate on and then tighten everything up. And this wing nut right here helps secure it down when you're folding the tongue out. Last side to tighten, then this whole system will be tightened up. And I will say right now, if you don't have 17 millimeter wrenches or sockets, get your hand on at least one 17 millimeter wrench and a 17 millimeter socket, like so. So now that that's out of the way, we need to build the back half. And that's gonna be built essentially the same as we built that first half, minus where we attach the tongue and such. One thing I want to point out real quick too is make sure that you only have 3 holes shown on the top and you leave all these multiple holes on the bottom. At least that's what it shows in the instructions. So we're gonna start with this top post, and remember, we need to mount our brackets to it. And make sure when mounting it that this indent right here, where it's going out this way, stays to the outside like this, so that it makes it flush with the other hinge. And again, we'll be using D bolts for most of this. And don't forget, for the centerpiece, you're gonna use the C nut, which is a little bit longer, and make sure you put this piece in, go through that steel, and then go into this bracket. And while we're at it, don't forget to put these 2 brackets on the back. All right, now I'm gonna do all these same bolts to this side. So now we need to connect the 2 frames together. And according to the instructions, you only need to use the D bolts to hook these 2 hinges together. So now it's just to fold it together. All right, so now that we have it folded over, we're actually gonna put these bolts in the bottom. So let's do that. But again, with this step, you really could have done it when you didn't have it together. It's just all how the instructions read. So now we need to install these brackets right here. There's 2 holes, one in the top, one in the bottom, and they're both gonna take D bolts, and it's the same for the other side. Then we need to take 1 C bolt and put it through this front part right here. Now repeat the same thing for the other side. Now it's time to put these smaller brackets on for the wheels. I should say the smaller wheels. To mount these brackets, it's just 2 D bolts on both sides. And again, channels like this, make sure this right angle bracket sits in the other right angle. All right, so one thing I noticed with these wheel casters is this is a 14mm bolt. It does not say you need a 14mm bolt in the instruction manual, but you will need one, and hopefully you have one. To install the wheel casters, again, they fail to include anything to help with this, but you need to have a really thin wrench to fit in there to catch the other side of the wheel caster, or else it just spins when you tighten it. So I'm just using a pair of pliers and or channel locks as they're called, and holding it on that side, and it's working. This side's done. Let's do this side real quick. Now it's time to install the fenders, which some people choose not to install these because they say it takes up a little bit more room on the trailer. But for now, I'm gonna install the fenders, and if I don't want them, I'll just take them off. And the 4 bolts needed to install the fenders, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's all the D bolts. 1 fender installed, now to the next. So now it's time to install the leaf springs, which according to the instruction manual, you're supposed to have bolts, nuts, and cotter pins to prevent the bolts from backing out. Well, I looked at all the bolts. There's no holes in the bolts to insert cotter pins, nor did it include cotter pins. So I assume just because it's got nylon locking nuts, that's what they're counting as the cotter pins. So hopefully this doesn't back out and my axle doesn't fall off, but time will tell. All you need to do here, slide your bolts through and tighten them down. And when it comes to these bolts, at least for my kit, it's an 18mm bolt and a 19mm nut. Now it's time to set the axle in place, which it has 2 holes here and here. That's gonna set into these little dots that poke out of the springs, so it should fit perfect. Just like that, it's in. Now we need to secure it down. To secure it down, you got your U-bolts and you got your metal plate. So what you're gonna do, slide a U-bolt on one side of the axle and slide it on the other side of the axle. Now take your metal plate, slap it up from the bottom, and tighten all your bolts down. All right, so I evenly tightened them down the best I could. Now let me do the other side. Now that the axle's fully installed, ready to go, we need to put on the tires. So I did the other side, and now I'm gonna show you the best way to do it, because I definitely learned a few things with that side. So So I'm gonna give you some tips now. First and foremost, most of you will know you gotta take this nut off here and take the washer off with it. Like I said before, make sure that grease fitting is accessible, which it is. Now we need to take this hub off. Get your channel locks again and start twisting that hub. Just like that, pops out. All right, make sure that's set how it should be. Now we're gonna slide this on. First, let's wipe some of this excess grease off. Take your washer and your nut. Cranking down. Now this only needs to be not even hand tight, they say in the manual. You don't want to put too much pressure on it because then it could put pressure on your bearings, which you don't want to do. So I'm gonna get it tight and then I'm gonna back it off a hair. We got our cotter pin. Make sure that's in a correct orientation. And let's bend the pin out. And same with the other side. Now hammer your cap back on. And just like that, both your tires are on. So now we're almost in the final steps. I need to get the coupler on. So what I'm gonna do to do that, I'm actually gonna stand it up and see how it does standing up. All right, so I got the trailer standing, I put the tongue down. So now I gotta attach the coupler to it. So with installing this 2-inch coupler, I need to drill a hole in the back on both sides because the holes do not line up with the other holes I have. So let me do that real quick. Holes drilled, let's put in the last bolt. Almost forgot, I gotta put the chains on too. Now that the trailer's finished, we need to hook up the electrical wiring. This is what the trailer's looking like right now, looking pretty good. One thing I saw the instruction manual, which I'm not gonna do quite yet, but it does say that you need 4 carriage bolts to go into the back here to fully secure it down. And it says that you should do that before you take it on the road. So that's a little disappointing in my mind. I feel like this should be pretty easy to just collapse and take it down. I don't wanna spend 10, 15 minutes trying to take this thing apart if I need to collapse it. But again, better safe than sorry. You may be able to get away with maybe sliding pins in here, some sort of cotter pin system with a bolt. But for me, I may just leave it together like this for a while and only put it away in like the winters and stuff when I'm not using it for a while. Let's start to run the electric for this. So now it's time to install the lights on the trailer, which they have pre-drilled holes for you, so it's not that difficult. So we're gonna slap these on first, which they have 3 holes right here, 1 in the middle for the wires, 2 on the outside for the screws. It did come with some screws. The screws and the packaging for this just don't use the screws that they have in a separate bag. Those are a little beefier and better. Do the same thing to the other side. Now it's time to mount the tail lights. It comes with these little L brackets that you're gonna put on, and you're gonna use your D bolts to mount these brackets. If you guys are wondering what tail light goes where, it has it labeled top right, so that means it's gonna go like this, and you wanna always make sure that this light is on the outside, and this will help when you run your wire from the back to the front. And these nuts right here are 10 millimeters. Now that this one's installed, I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. So this side right here does have a light for your license plate, but I'm not gonna mount mine right here because people say that this swings down and bends the plate. So what I actually got is I got a smaller plate, which is gonna mount right to the center right here. And yes, I know my license plate won't be illuminated, but I'm not really gonna be using this at night, just during the day once in a while. So all the lights are set in place. Now we need to run that wire. So the nice thing with this wiring harness is it actually comes with the opposite side if you need to wire it into your vehicle. I don't, so I'm just gonna toss this to the side and roll on. So the big thing here is you wanna make sure you leave enough length to hook into your vehicle. So I'm gonna go about to here. That should be plenty for me. This white wire right here is for grounding, so you just wanna screw it anywhere right along here or to the trailer. So I'm gonna extend this white wire right here. It's a little short for me, so we'll extend it and it should be good. Now that this white wire is extended, we need to run this wire back to our lights. All right, there's one side. Let's do the other side. So I got my wire ran back. Remember just to leave it kind of loose because this trailer needs to fold up, but I think I ran it the best way possible. Kind of gonna keep it maintained up in the trailer, but also be able to stay loose. So now we need to hook our first light to it. You got a red and a black wire. This red wire is gonna go to the brown wire, and the black wire is just gonna drill into the frame. Also, it didn't come with any of these quick crimp connectors that screw into your frame for your ground. It said you're supposed to hook it to the white wire in the manual, but the white wire does not run back here. So then again, didn't really provide you with what you needed. So make sure you have a few of these little quick crimp connectors lying around. So there's the first light. Now we need to run this back and hook it in to the lights back there. So while I was filming you guys, showing how I wired up the tail lights, I didn't realize that my camera died and I lost that footage. With that said, I apologize for that, but the lights are installed and working good. I'll show you guys that here in a bit. I also slapped the plywood on top just to set it on to see how it would fit. I haven't mounted it or anything. Now the next step is to actually mount the plywood. And the plywood I used is 1/2 inch thick plywood, which is what they recommend in the manual. And they want you to use 3/8 bolts, which I got some galvanized bolts, and we're gonna put it together. So when it comes to this plywood, I'm gonna measure off the back and see where it lands. And if you do 4 feet, it lands right on where it should be, right on the hinge. So I'm gonna mark it here. And I'm just gonna go off the other side of the wood just to make sure it's the same length. Yep, it is. So just like that, 4 foot dead center of the plywood. I'm gonna mark the other side and I'll draw a straight line and we'll cut it. I'm just gonna freehand this and hopefully it turns out good. So now that we got our boards cut, we need to set them back on top and mark out where we need to drill the holes through the plywood. And as you can see on the trailer, there's 3 holes going across each beam on the top. So 1, 2, 3, and that is replicated across each beam. And then you also have 2 holes here and here on both sides there, and same with the back. So you wanna make sure you mark all the holes on the bottom, and then we'll drill them. And real quick guys, just to show you, here's the trailer harness starting there. I have it just wrapped around to keep it off the ground. The wire comes back, kind of flares out here to hook to those side indicator lights. Comes back to the tail light and hooked in there. That's how I have them hooked up. Heat shrinked, used a compression fitting, or crimp fitting, I'm sorry. Here's the other side. All you need to do is match up the colors and you're good. So now that that's all done, time to slap our first piece of plywood on and mark it out. When you're doing this too, you wanna make sure that you square it out with the trailer. So that's the best I'm gonna get it. So now I gotta get under there and mark it. And to do that, I'm gonna use a Sharpie. Now that we got it marked, flip it up and make sure you label what you had where. So I'm gonna write front here and right here. Now take your drill and drill out the holes. So the board's flipped back over. Now we're just gonna check and make sure everything lines up. And I'm just gonna drill out the holes a little more and then we're gonna paint it. Board number 1's done. I'm gonna set this off to the side and do board number 2 real quick. So the boards line up good. Now I wanna paint them. Now when it comes to painting this plywood, you could use whatever type of paint you want. I recommend an outdoor paint. I have this black paint that was lying around from a previous project. It's furniture and cabinet paint, but it's meant for interior and exterior. So I thought, why not? I'm not gonna use it again. I got about a ½ gallon left and it should be able to cover the boards. So with that being said, I'm just gonna get my roller and paint them. So now that this bottom side's done, I need to flip it like this, paint the top, and then I can set it on top of the trailer and do the other board. All right, board number 2, let's get to painting. Now we're gonna let the paint dry and then we need to mount them. Now the paint is all dried and fully cured and now we need to secure the plywood down. So when it comes to securing the plywood down, I chose to use 3/8 bolts because that's what they recommend in the manual. And again, I'm using a washer, then we'll slide it through the hole, use another washer, a lock nut, and then a nut to tighten it down. Let's start slapping them in the holes and tightening the plywood down. So we got the bolt through the hole. Now we're gonna take our lock nut and our another washer and we'll slide them on under there. And we're just gonna leave it loose for now and set all the other bolts and then we'll tighten everything down. So all the bolts are in and started. Now I just need to tighten them all down. I'm gonna start in the center and work my way out just because the plywood's bowed up a bit in the middle. Just like that, the first sheet is secured. I will say one thing I noticed is it bows up a hair on the edges, especially where the 2 bolts are in the front, but it's not that big of a deal to me. But if you want, you could always route out a bit under so that it kind of sits a little more flush in the front. So now let me do the same thing to the back one and I'll catch you back in a bit. Now this other piece of plywood is secured, we're good to go. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold the trailer up and make sure everything closes together nice and compact and that we have no issues with how the plywood's laid out. I will say having to unscrew these bolts right here is the biggest downfall of trying to collapse this trailer. So I may look into trying to get a pin or something that I could put in here so that it prevents this from swinging up at all. Now that those bolts are out, I should be able to fold it up. So sadly, this does not come with anything to hold the trailer together. So I made this little jig right here, this little block that's gonna hold it together. To do so, I drilled 2 holes in it. You slide 1 bolt through that side, fold the other side up, and you slide the other bolt through the other side. So just like that, it holds it up in place. And if you want, you could thread bolts on the other side to make sure these don't pop out. Currently, I still have this tongue sticking out. I'm gonna fold it down real quick and make sure that the wires fold down with it. So now the tongue should just pop out like so. And just like that, you have a nice compact trailer. So while this trailer's compacted down and the wires are folded up and as tight as they're gonna be, I'm gonna put some clamps on the plywood to hold the wire close to the plywood so that the wires don't dangle down and get caught on anything in the road while driving. And I'm just using these little metal straps. And the wire can still move freely in these if it needs to move at all. Spin it around and do the other side. And just like that, the wire's secured and it's not gonna get in the way of anything underneath the trailer. Now real quick, let's see how long it takes me to set this trailer up. And just like that, the trailer's set up and ready to go. Now, yes, I know I did not put those 2 bolts in to secure this back part down right here, so it'll still move up and down freely. But personally, I'm not too concerned with that. For what I'm gonna use it for, I think it'll be fine. Now again, I may look into getting some pins that slide in there, so it doesn't need to be bolts, and I don't need to pull out my impact gun every time I wanna fold this up or put it out. But overall, I think this trailer is truly gonna be worth it. It's gonna be a really nice trailer. It's gonna allow me to put my mower on and take it to a few places that I need to mow. And it's also gonna allow me to have a nice compact trailer that can stay inside and not get weathered. But then when I need it, easily fold it out and put it to work. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns with this trailer build or anything I did to it, please leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to get back to you. I thank you guys for watching this video. I know it was a long one, but I hope you enjoyed watching it. And I hope you learned a little bit, as I know there's not too many videos out there that show you how to build these trailers that come in a box. So I know some of you are gonna ask, what are my overall thoughts of this trailer? Personally, right now, I think it's gonna be a really solid trailer. Now, time will tell and we'll see how it performs over the course of the next weeks, months, and even years. And I hope I can get many years of use out of this trailer, and that'll be really good. So with that being said, thank you for watching this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your day.